In the heart of Boston, there lived a janitor named Will Hunting. By day, he worked quietly at MIT, mopping floors and keeping the halls tidy. But beneath his rough exterior lay a brilliant mind, a mathematical prodigy capable of solving complex equations that baffled even the brightest professors. At night, in the solitude of empty classrooms, he found solace in tackling challenging problems on chalkboards left behind. In those moments, Will felt truly alive, yet he struggled to escape the shadows of his troubled past, haunted by memories of abuse and abandonment. One day, while solving a particularly difficult problem, Will caught the attention of Professor Gerald Lambeau. Intrigued by Will's extraordinary talent, the professor sought him out, eager to mentor this gifted janitor. But when Lambeau approached Will with an offer of guidance, Will felt a wave of reluctance wash over him. He was plagued by self-doubt, convinced that he was unworthy of such opportunities. The idea of stepping into a world he thought he didn't belong in was terrifying. Meanwhile, Will's best friend, Chucky, watched with a mix of admiration and concern. Chucky cared deeply for Will and knew he was wasting his potential. He often urged Will to think about a future beyond their humble neighborhood. "You have so much potential, man," Chucky would say. "Don't throw it away." But each time Chucky expressed his hopes for Will, he was met with defiance. "I'm just fine here," Will would retort, unwilling to leave the comfort of what he knew, even if it meant stagnation. As the pressure mounted, Professor Lambeau, desperate for Will to see his potential, arranged for him to meet Sean McGuire, a compassionate therapist with his own scars from a troubled past. In their first session, Will sat with his arms crossed, a barrier between him and the world. He responded to Sean's questions with sarcasm, masking his vulnerability with bravado. But Sean, with his gentle yet firm demeanor, saw through the facade. He understood that beneath the humor lay a young man filled with fear and pain. As their sessions progressed, Will began to peel back the layers of his emotional armor. He shared glimpses of his childhood, revealing the abuse and neglect that had shaped his view of the world. One day, in a moment of raw vulnerability, Will confessed his fear of happiness. "What if it doesn't last?" he asked, his voice trembling as he fought back tears. Sean's response was heartfelt and genuine. "The best thing you'll ever do is find out that you're worth it. You deserve happiness." Those words struck a deep chord within Will, igniting a glimmer of hope he had long suppressed. Soon after, Will met Skylar, a bright and spirited Harvard student. Their connection was electric, filled with laughter and late-night conversations that made Will feel seen for the first time. But as their relationship blossomed, so did Will's fears. His past loomed large, casting shadows over the possibility of love. Skylar, with her patience and kindness, challenged him to confront his emotions. "You can't keep pushing me away," she urged. "I want to be with you." But Will, terrified of vulnerability, hesitated to let her in. Caught between his feelings for Skylar and the weight of his past, Will faced an emotional crossroads. In his sessions with Sean, he confided about the turmoil brewing inside him. They worked through his emotional barriers, with Sean sharing his own experiences of loss and regret. This bond transcended the typical therapist-client relationship, revealing the power of connection and healing. Meanwhile, Chucky confronted Will with urgency one evening. "You're not going to waste your life in this neighborhood," he said, desperation in his voice. "You have a chance to be something great. Don't throw it away." With the encouragement of his friends and the newfound clarity from his sessions with Sean, Will began to see that he could choose a different path. As his relationship with Skylar deepened, Will found himself confronting both his past and his future. He shared his fears with her, admitting how scared he was of getting hurt again. Skylar listened intently, offering understanding and support instead of judgment. "You're not alone, Will," she reassured him. "We can face this together." Finally, the day arrived when Will had to make a choice that would change his life forever. During his last session with Sean, he reflected on the journey they had taken together. Sean, with wisdom and warmth, told him, "You've come so far, Will. It's time to embrace your future." In that moment, Will felt a rush of emotions, a blend of fear, hope, and determination. With newfound courage, he decided to accept a fellowship at MIT. It was a pivotal moment, a decision to step into the light, rather than remain in the shadows of his past. As Will drove away from the familiar streets of Boston, with Skylar by his side and the sun shining bright, he felt an overwhelming sense of possibility. In that moment, he smiled, ready for the journey that lay ahead. He had learned that love, friendship, and the courage to change would guide him on his path. Sometimes, the greatest journey begins when we finally choose to believe in ourselves. And with each mile that passed, Will knew he was not just leaving behind a life of fear, but stepping into a future filled with hope and potential, ready to embrace whatever came next.